lesson 95 today. So welcome everyone, good morning. And I was thinking, I never shared this before, but when I first started, before I first started Pal Talk, I thought to myself, oh shit, I have to go on after Regis. I thought to myself, this is my ego talking. He's a hard act to follow. And it's just so funny that how the ego makes you feel so inferior, and so not good enough and unworthy and all that, And then I remembered, what Dove said about trust. You just trust, and that's what this is about. You just trust. And the only way to trust is to trust. So I just wanted to share that because I can laugh at it now, but I did really think that in the beginning. And then I know the truth, and I know developing trust is so important, and that's what I feel like I've been doing this whole time I've been practicing A Course in Miracles, is really developing trust. So I'm very, very grateful. I'm feeling really grateful today. My sister Deanna, that I shared about last week, that I was holding a grievance against, it was miscommunication on my part. I didn't realize that she was actually coming on the 3rd, and I thought she was coming on the 5th. Well, she was coming on the 5th to stay with my mom, but the 3rd and 4th were with her kids. So I just had to laugh at that too. It's just so funny how we make up these things in our mind, and we believe them and think they're real. And I went with this story, that I thought, oh, she's not going to spend enough time with my mom, and I'm holding this grievance, and it wasn't even true. So it was so funny. We both talked about it last night. We laughed, and I shared the recording with her. I said, you're going to laugh because you're going to hear how I held this grievance against you that wasn't even real, But anyway, it was good. All for our learning. It's never true. Yes, Lynn, it's never true is right. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Only our thoughts with God are true. So with that being said, I'd like to open up with a prayer from Review 5, Introduction in the Workbook. It's on page 329. And it goes like this. Steady our feet, our Father. Let our doubts be quiet and our holy minds be still, and speak to us. We have no words to give to you. We would but listen to your word and make it ours. Lead our practicing as does a father lead a little child along a way he does not understand. Yet does he follow, sure that he is safe, because his Father leads the way for him. So do we bring our practicing to you. And if we stumble, you will raise us up. If we forget the way, we count upon your sure remembering. We wander off, but you will not forget to call us back. Quicken our footsteps now, that we may walk more certainly and quickly unto you. And we accept the word you offer us to unify our practicing as we review the thoughts that you have given us. Amen. Oh boy, I just love that prayer. It just kind of brings tears to my eyes every time I read it. It's just so beautiful. So I'm going to start out with lesson 95 today. It really touched me. and it's very close to the one after that and the one before that, and they're just so perfect and such great reminders. Lesson 95. I am one self, united with my Creator. Today's idea accurately describes you as God created you. You are one within yourself and one with Him. Yours is the unity of all creation. Your perfect unity makes change in you impossible. Your perfect unity makes change in you impossible. You do not accept this, and you fail to realize it must be so, only because you believe that you have changed yourself already. And it is the truth that we do believe that the authority problem and all the other parts in the Course that, we put our trust in the ego and believe this body is real and, all the thoughts that go along with it. And Ken Wapnick says that it's a short little thing. I remember it because it's short, but I have a longer version of this, but I don't know where it is. But he basically says that we are asked in the midst of change to recognize the unchangeable. So in the midst of change, in the midst of this changing world that's changing all the time, that we are asked to recognize the unchangeable, the truth of who we are as God created us. When I see my mother going through the changes in her body, it makes me think about the changes I'm going through in my body. It's to look at, to see that these changes, they're changes because they're not real, because anything that changes is not real. It's in form, and it's going to change, and it's going to wither, and it's going to get sick, and it's going to have problems, and it's going to break down, but the changelessness within us never changes. And that's the only thing that matters. So I can always change my mind about what's happening, no matter what it is, and no matter what's happening, I can see peace instead of this. And that's what the changelessness of the unity of all creation teaches us, that we can change our minds and we can be at peace regardless. Thanks for posting, Zulma. Paragraph 2. You see yourself as a ridiculous parody on God's creation. Weak, vicious, ugly, and sinful. Miserable and beset with pain. Such is your version of yourself. A self divided into many warring parts, separate from God, and tenuously held together by its erratic and capricious maker to which you pray. It does not hear your prayers, for it is deaf. It does not see the oneness in you, for it is blind. It does not understand you are the Son of God, for it is senseless and understands nothing. Miserable, yeah, right. Exactly, Nigel. Miserable is right. And capricious, erratic. It changes all the time. It's never the same. And it's really, I love how he reminds us of the body. Reminds us of the body's eyes are blind and the body's ears are deaf, and it's senseless. The senses are senseless. Our senses are senseless. They mean nothing. They know nothing because the ego is nothing. And we make it so real. And I love the way he reminds us over and over again, because we need to be reminded. Because this body is our functionality of the day, every day. As Regis was saying, it's every moment of every day. We are basically in this body in form. And it's so cool to recognize now when I am making the decision for the ego, to recognize it when I'm making that decision for the ego. Notice it, recognize it, look at it, and then decide, do I want to keep going with this? Do I want to keep this story going? Or do I want peace? Do I really want the peace of God? And that's every moment of every day. Do I want the peace of God? Do I? Because if I did, I wouldn't be making the story up. So it's really noticing and looking. And like yesterday when I was talking to my sister, it was like she was kind of justifying anger, that I was angry at her because she was feeling guilty because she wasn't here much and she didn't stay that long, her visit, because she really can't. She works and she lives in New Hampshire, and it's not easy for her right now. And I completely understood that, and we had a beautiful conversation. And I told her, it's perfect. Everything's happening perfectly. I'm here. I'm supposed to be here. This is supposed to be what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I'm grateful for you right now to help out. And I was grateful for my other sister to help out for over a week. It was wonderful. So it's just all so perfect. And there's no victims here. There's no villains here. It's just what it is. It is what it is. And there's no one to blame. And it's all opportunities for forgiveness and opportunities to extend love. Paragraph 3. We will attempt today to be aware only of what can hear and see and what makes perfect sense. We will again direct our exercises towards reaching your one self, which is united with its creator. In patience and in hope, we try again today. And Lynn says, never enough. That's the ego's mantra, never enough. You're probably going to hear a siren here every now and then. There's a fire company like really close to me, so the sirens do go off here a lot, and I live right in town. So it's not anything here. It's nothing to really worry about. It's not a tornado siren. So yeah, it's very common here to have sirens go off. And guns go off too a lot here. This is Pennsylvania. I'm in Norristown, right outside of Pennsylvania. It's a little town right outside of Philadelphia, Norristown, Pennsylvania. I'm in a pretty good place, but there are a couple blocks down. I do hear gunshots every now and then. Not as bad as Philadelphia, because it's much, much smaller than Philadelphia. But it still gets a little crazy sometimes. So, paragraph 4. The use of the first 5 minutes of every waking hour for practicing the idea for the day has special advantages at the stage of learning in which you are present. It is difficult at this point not to allow your mind to wander. If it undertakes extended practice, I'm going to say that again. It is difficult at this point not to allow your mind to wander if it undertakes extended practice. Yes. You have surely realized this by now. Yes. You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline and of your need for mind training. Yes. It is necessary that you be aware of this, for it is indeed a hindrance to your advance. Yes, yes, and yes. And the mind training, I love the introduction to the lessons where he talks about the mind training. And in practice, it is every moment of every day. The mind training is really forgiveness for me. The mind training is looking at the ego with the gentleness of the Holy Spirit. The mind training is noticing when my mind wanders into temptation into believing that something outside of me is causing me upset, that something outside of me is the cause of my upset. It is the cause of why A, B, or C is happening, and it's not the cause. The cause is in my mind, and it's in the decision that I make, and I cannot be reminded enough. And in the original edition, I like in the original edition of the Course, in Chapter 2, Section 2, he says, "Lead us not into temptation" means do not let us deceive ourselves into believing that we can relate in peace to God or to our brothers with anything external. Anything external. There is nothing outside of us that can bring us peace. Nothing. It can be maybe temporary, maybe a temporary feeling of peace or relaxation or, just feeling quiet. But it's never the peace of God which passes all understanding, because we can't understand that, because it's just constant. It never changes. And there's so much in this Course about nothing outside of us, and I just wanted to take a moment to go over a few of them, just because for me, they're just such good reminders. And the first one's the one that Dove brings up a lot, which is in Chapter 18, Section 6, Beyond the Body, Paragraph 1. He says, "There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. For it is the realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness and nothing else within." And thank you, Zulma, for posting. Yes, this is all of it, it's so good, because it's also reminding us that heaven is not outside of us. Like, I was listening to Regis share about, his beliefs and his religion before he was introduced to the Course. And, I was brought up that heaven was like out there, it was up somewhere, it was this big God sitting on this big chair, and he's going to judge us. He's just sitting there waiting for us to drop dead so he could judge us. If we're lucky enough to even get there, we might go to purgatory and we might have to wait, or we might just go to hell, and burn. So it was really fear, very fearful, very scary. But we're learning that heaven is a decision. Heaven it's a choice for the right mind to. It's asking the Holy Spirit to remember who we are in truth as God created us, that the separation never happened. It's the Word of God, which is the atonement. That's heaven. And he says, why wait? Why wait for heaven? Why be in hell? Why judge? Why be upset over something that we have no control over when we think we have control over something? Except the only thing we have control over is our mind and the decisions that we make. Lynn says, "I never believed that God would do that. Jesus was my buddy." Yes, I hear you. Lynn. I didn't actually think Jesus was my buddy, but I hear you. I agree with that. I wasn't sure who Jesus was, because I had such a upside down teaching of him, honestly. I wasn't really sure, but I just knew that God was not a punishing God. And, I was really drilled that in Catholic school, and I literally forgave all of that, because, of course, the nuns had no idea what they were doing. They just were taught what they were taught. They didn't know any better. And that was their belief. But Lynn, I got kicked out in 7th grade because I rebelled, because I just could not understand this God they were talking about. And in 5th grade, I was hit by a nun pretty bad, and I had to have a conference with this nun and my mom. And my mom was crying, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with her. Like they treated me like I was possessed, like I was that girl in The Exorcist. Seriously, like I was the plague. I really felt that way. That's how I felt, like I was being treated by them, and it just made me act out more. And so I just said to the nun, and you're not supposed to talk back either at this stage of the game, in this era. This was the 70s, you weren't supposed to talk back. But I said, I'm sorry, but what you did was not of God. You're supposed to be a nun, and hitting me is not of God. 5th grade. Oh boy, did I get more punishment for that one, But I ended up in 7th grade getting expelled, and it was the best thing that happened to me. Really the best thing that happened to me. So I am with you 100% that I never believed any of that stuff. And that's why I was so grateful for the Course when I found the Course, because all my beliefs really were really in writing here. Like, oh my gosh, this is great, this is wonderful, I can relate to this, I love this, and this is what I believe, Lynn says, LOL, sorry that happened. They just sent me to the priest. He would tell me jokes and we drank Cokes. That's awesome. He smoked cigarettes too. I love it. That's awesome. That's cool. I mean, that's very cool. I didn't have that experience, but that's awesome for you. There was one priest, though, that was really cool and very loving and kind. And he used to call me Princess. He'd say, hi, Princess. How you doing, Princess? And used to make me feel like I was okay, like I wasn't the home of evil, darkness, and sin that the Course talks about. He really did. He ended up leaving that church. And I ended up having my daughter baptized by him in his church when my daughter was born. So it was all perfect. It all happened for our learning and our awakening. He loved me because I was Irish. That's funny. Yeah, Irish Catholic. Oh boy, I'm Italian Catholic, so I know. It's pretty much pretty close. We're like kissing cousins. So another section I wanted to go to was Chapter 20, Section 7, Paragraph 9. I really like this one too. Paragraph 7, Section 7, Paragraph 9. Let me just find it. It is on page 441. I really love this. It's Jesus says, your question should not be, how can I see my brother without the body? Wait. I went a little too far. This is what I wanted to go to first. I wanted to go to, in chapter 18, right past beyond the body is section 7, paragraph 2. I'm going to do that one first and then go to the other one, because all this came to me this morning, and it was just felt so right. So I'm sorry. I'm going to go to chapter 18, section 7, paragraph 2. I went ahead of myself. And that is on page, that's the I need do nothing section. That's on page 398. So he says, there is one thing you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. It has perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. You are not asked to let this happen for more than an instant. Yet it is in this instant that the miracle of atonement happens. Afterwards, you will see the body again, but never quite the same. And every instant that you spend without awareness of it gives you a different view of it when you return. And I just love that too, because it took me a little while to recognize that my body was outside of my mind. You know, that just confused me in the beginning. Like, I just didn't get it. Because I guess I was just so rooted in my body to the point where it just didn't make sense to me. I was just too attached to my body. I just couldn't get it through my thick skull. But it's so, to me now, my understanding with the experience of my understanding of it is that I am here in form in a body, and I know it's not the truth of who I am, but when I recognize it's not the truth, then the body is teaching me, that the body actually is teaching me its unreality. It's showing me from the changes that I'm going through, that I'm watching my mother go through, that just like Lynn said, God wouldn't do that. It's cruel what happens here. It's cruel to watch a body go through suffering and pain and death and just pain and you know, not being able to walk or not being able to even go to the bathroom on your own, you know, to that degree. Just things like that all the bodily functions, when they start to go, you know, it's not of God, you know. Only the peace of God is the truth. Only the love of God is the truth. This is just our classroom here to learn the lessons that we came to learn. And that led me to chapter 20, section 7. This is the other that really I just love, because it kind of gives me a sense of peace. That, because in the beginning I was a little intimidated by, oh, I'm not a body, and you know, I would be at meetings, and a couple times I had this one person who would say to me, you know, if I said something about being in a body or I am a body, she'd say, you're not a body, you're not a body, you're not in a body. You know, and it used to drive me crazy, and but that's my experience, you know, and it just wasn't helpful for me. So this from Jesus, and that I love, because that's what I'm learning too in the Course. I'm learning, and I have learned this for quite a while now, and this is a big practice of mine, is meeting people where they're at. Meeting people where they're at, because he tells us in chapter 2, as healing, as a release from fear, that they're just in so much fear, they're not ready to hear the truth. They're not ready for the atonement, you know, or they're not ready to even hear some things that the Course is telling us. And that's why he teaches us gently, and he wakes his children gently. And here he tells us, this is paragraph 9, chapter 20, section 7. Your question should not be, how can I see my brother without the body? Ask only, do I really wish to see him sinless? Do I really wish to see him sinless? And as you ask, forget not that his sinlessness is your escape from fear. Salvation is the Holy Spirit's goal. The means is vision. For what the seeing look upon is sinless. No one who loves can judge, and what he sees is free of condemnation. No one who loves can judge, and what he sees is free of condemnation. And that just reminds me in lesson 46 that God does not forgive because he never condemns. And that was the deal sealer for me. This Course that's when it started to really flourish for me, because that was all what I always believed and what I was not taught, and then being taught this and shown this and feeling it and experiencing it was just amazing, and it still is amazing. So no one who loves can judge, and what he sees is free of condemnation. And what he sees he did not make, for it was given him to see, as was the vision that made his seeing possible. So do I really wish to see my brother sinless? Do I really wish to see my brother sinless? Well, if I want to see myself sinless, then I want to see my brother sinless, because whatever I wish for my brother, I'm wishing for myself. And that's the other thing I've been learning in this course, that it's to give and to receive are one. It's the truth. And it's just really a reflection of my own thoughts anyway. So what do I want for myself? Do I want to see myself sinless? If I don't, then I don't want to see my brother sinless either. So that's the question. Like, we're always speaking of ourselves first, which we're learning the secret of salvation here, that we are doing it to ourselves, everything. And that's also every moment of every day. So I think I'll go to one more, and that's in chapter 12, section 3, paragraph 6. And then we'll get back to our lesson. Sorry for the sidetrack in here. I just can't help it. I just love this course. I love the different places it takes me. Chapter 12, section 3, which is the investment in reality, in paragraph 6. To identify with the ego is to attack yourself and make yourself poor. That is why everyone who identifies with the ego feels deprived. What he experiences then is depression or anger, because what he did was to exchange self-love for self-hate, making him afraid of himself. He does not realize this. Even if he is fully aware of anxiety, he does not perceive its source as his own ego identification. And he always tries to handle it by making some sort of insane, quote-unquote, arrangement with the world. He always perceives this world as outside himself, for this is crucial to his adjustment. He does not realize that he makes this world, for there is no world outside of him. And again, I say this too a lot, that I say that it's, Ken Wapnick's twofold practice. I am never upset for the reason I think, and I could see peace instead of this. I am never upset because of something outside of me. If I think that that's why I'm upset, then that's when I need to take a look. I need to take a look at my mind. I need to take a look at what I'm thinking, and I need to ask for help to see it differently, because it's not the truth. And this is the practice. This is the mind training. This is every moment of every day, because this happens every moment of every day. It still happens, and I catch myself. And he tells us basically that we're not to be without our ego. We're not really to be without our ego. So we're going to judge. We're going to, it's just going to happen naturally. What we're here to do is to look at it. That's forgiveness. It looks, it waits, it judges not. Until we don't. And if we get to that level, beautiful. If we don't, beautiful. It's all perfect. It's where exactly we're meant to be. There's no judgment. There's no one better than anyone else. It's just everyone's exactly where they're supposed to be, on this ladder that they talk about in the Song of Prayer. And that's the other thing that I love about this course, is the acceptance and the non-judgment and the loving. And, and when I see it, if I think I see it, it's only because I'm still judging myself. When I can let go of the judgment and stop condemning myself, there's nothing to judge in others. Because it always will start with myself. And that's the reversal of the projection and looking, and that's forgiveness. So this is the beauty of this course. It's helping me so much in every aspect of my life. I have someone very close to me who's a heroin addict, and they started using heroin again. And before really practicing this course, I would run to the rescue, and run, not walk, run. Don't pass go, it was like that. It was just, I would react so quickly, and I would think I could save this person, and what I did was I was sent a picture of this person, the person that they're with, their mate, their a partner, took a picture to show me this person, and I don't know if anyone knows anything about heroin, but it totally knocks you out. And this person was just totally knocked out, and it just made me so sad, just made me so sad, and I just wanted to cry, and I just the love that came out of me, my heart broke for this person, like the pain that they're feeling, that they feel the need, and I know the pain they're feeling because they're going through a lot. They're going through a lot of emotional turmoil that, even though I know, well, I'm doing this to myself and all that, I have to meet them where they're at, and they don't get that right now. They're still blaming outside conditions and still going through it, and that's where we are ministers of God, and we are there not to join in the suffering, but to be there, to be that light, to be that peace, and to, by not making the error real, I didn't allow it to really, crush me like I used to. I just felt so sad, and I sent, loving thoughts and good vibrations, and I didn't even respond. I didn't even respond at all yet, and because I haven't had a signal, any kind of guidance that gave me any. I won't respond until I feel it's right. I'm not going to respond out of fear. I'm not going to respond out of impulse. I'm not going to respond from my past learning. I'm sitting with this. And it's a very close person to me, very, very close, and it's very, very heartbreaking. But at the same time, I know it's not the truth of who this person is. It's an experience that there's no hierarchy of illusions here. And I'm not trying to be cold or anything like that, but that's what the Course is teaching us. Every single problem is the same. This is no different than, maybe getting a little headache from, eating ice cream too fast. That happens to me sometimes. If I eat something cold too fast, I get like a little headache. It's no different, So seeing that, recognizing that, and there's no order of difficulty in miracles. So this is the path right now that this person is on. And it's that the Course is actually helping me so much right now with it, and I'm very, very, very grateful for these lessons, for you guys, for everyone, and all the teachers that are so helpful. So, with that, we are reminded, and we're going to go to paragraph 5. Frequent but shorter practice periods have other advantages for you at this time. In addition to recognizing your difficulties with sustained attention, you must also have noticed that unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget. I'm going to say that again. Unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. You often fail to remember the short applications of the idea for the day, and you have not yet formed a habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation. I am one self, united with my Creator. When I feel the temptation of the egos try to step in and take over my mind, I am one self, united with my Creator. Lesson 94, I am as God created me. Lesson 96, salvation comes from my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. Paragraph 6. Structure then is necessary for you at this time. Plan to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. So, I don't know, structure is, I don't really, I used to, but I don't anymore. I used to be very vigilant with the lessons, and I used to feel guilty if I didn't do them, and I never really set a timer or anything like that in terms of time. But I go where I'm guided to these days. It's like, what are you feeling? You know, if you want to read this lesson, read this lesson. If you're guided somewhere else, go somewhere else. Go wherever you're guided. Because it's, it's funny because he does say you're only required to do the lessons once. And I know most people I know have done it way more than once. And I don't think it even matters. It's what you feel you're guided to do. But as far as regularity and structure, I think for me, I don't know that I need that as much with doing the lessons every day, like vigilantly, like I have to do this lesson. It's just practicing the principles. It's putting them into practice. It's actually working the course. It's actually doing the work. It's actually, being loving, kind, and gentle with myself. It's actually extending love. It's actually noticing when I'm not. It's the mind training that we're talking about. It's all that. That's putting these lessons into practice. So for me, that is really where the structure comes in. I go where I'm led, and I do go over every day, like I did, and I love this lesson. Even though this is yesterday's, I love this lesson, and that's where I was guided. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about that. I don't even know why I spent any time on it. Paragraph 7. We will therefore keep to the 5 minutes an hour practice periods for a while, and urge you to omit as few as possible. Using the first 5 minutes of the hour will be particularly helpful since it imposes firmer structure. And yeah, in the beginning, totally agree. The structure was extremely important for me, and in fact, I kind of depended on it. I was one of those that couldn't live without it. I had to have it. I had to do it, and I did feel guilty. I did feel guilty if I didn't. And that I learned was not practicing the course. That's the last thing Jesus wants us to do, is feel guilty. So that's the learning that happens. And some people never feel guilty, but I know that I did, and so we just do the best that we can. So, sentence 4, there may well be a temptation to regard the day as lost because you have already failed to do what is required. This should, however, merely be recognized as what it is: a refusal to let your mistake be corrected and an unwillingness to try again. So yeah, it does. It comes down to willingness, just willingness. If we forget, try again. If we're just willing, and if we're not, we don't fight ourselves either. He tells us, we don't fight ourselves. We just do. We go where we're guided and do what we're guided. But in the early practicing of the lessons, I do believe that structure and regularity is very important, for sure. No question. Paragraph 8. The Holy Spirit is not delayed in His teaching by your mistakes. He can be held back only by your unwillingness to let them go. Let us therefore be determined, particularly for the next week or so, to be willing to forgive ourselves for our lapses in diligence and our failures to follow the instructions for practicing the day's idea. This tolerance for weakness will enable us to overlook it rather than give it power to delay our learning. If we give it power to do so, if we give it power to do this, we are regarding it as strength and are confusing strength with weakness. Yes. So we're giving it power, we're making it real. So I think it's all about willingness, like he's saying here. It's all being willingness to forgive. And like in the beginning, these lessons are so very important. I mean, I started out with the lessons before I started reading the text, and it just was to me so important and so helpful. And like he said in the beginning, even if you don't understand it, just do it. And that's what I did, because I had no clue, especially those beginning lessons that make beautiful sense now, made no sense to me in the beginning. So it's just trust. It's the trust and the determination and the willingness to forgive ourselves for lapses in diligence. You know, we just forgive ourselves and we try again. Choose once again. Paragraph 9. When you fail to comply with the requirements of this course, you have merely made a mistake. This calls for correction and for nothing else. To allow a mistake to continue is to make additional mistakes based on the first and reinforcing it. It is this process that must be laid aside, for it is but another way in which you would defend illusions against the truth. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Paragraph 10. Let all these errors go by recognizing them for what they are. Let all these errors go by recognizing them for what they are. They are attempts to keep you unaware. You are one self, united with your Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. This is the truth, and nothing else is true. Today we will affirm this truth again and try to reach the place in you in which there is no doubt that only this is true. Yes. Now that's absolutely a beautiful reminder. By these errors, by letting all these errors go, they're attempts to keep you unaware you are oneself. And the unaware is in quotes because it's not true. So unaware is, for me, it reminds me of when the Course uses the word mindless, which Ken Wapnick uses a lot. Unaware is being mindless. It's just keeping us out of our mind, keeping us in the ego, thinking that we already know, thinking that we are not one self united with our Creator. We are our body. We are this I am this body as Karen. I am Karen. I am, a female, 59 years old, who lives in Norristown, Pennsylvania. That's who I am. That's what the ego wants me to believe. And this is not the truth of who I am. This is just an idea, and turning this over and just remembering that what this talked about before, that we aren't this body, that it's, do I want to see my brother sinless? Do I want to remember the truth that I am oneself? Do I want to remember the truth? Because if I remember the truth for myself, I remember it for everyone. Forgiveness is all inclusive. It's not for one, it's for all. So this is the truth and nothing else is true. Paragraph 11. Begin the practice period today with this assurance, offered to your mind with all the certainty you can give. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. So beautiful. Then close your eyes and tell yourself again, slowly and thoughtfully, attempting to allow the meaning of the words to sink into your mind, replacing false ideas. I am one self. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. Repeat this several times and then attempt to feel the meaning that the words convey. I am one self. I am as God created me. Salvation comes from my one self. Paragraph 12. You are one self, united and secure in light and joy and peace. You are God's Son, one self with one Creator and one goal, to bring awareness to this oneness to all minds, that true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God. You are one self, complete and healed and whole, with power to lift the veil of darkness from the world and let the light in you come through to teach the world the truth about yourself. It's beautiful. And the first sentence, you are one self, united and secure in light and joy and peace. That's lesson 93. Light and joy and peace abide in us. We are one self, united with our Creator, complete and healed and whole, with power to lift the veil of darkness from the world and let the light in you come through to teach the world the truth about yourself. Every single moment of every single day. What am I teaching? And we can go right to lesson 93. I don't even have to turn there. Am I teaching that I am light and joy and peace? Or am I teaching I am the home of evil, darkness, and sin? And he basically says the same thing in this lesson in different words. And we need to be reminded, because he tells us unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget. You tend to forget, and we tend to forget for long periods of time. Not just forget, but for long periods of time. You know, and that's why when he talks about this regularity and this structure is so important, because it's so easy to forget. So whatever that means to you, your structure, whatever frequent reminder works for you, whatever regularity works for you, it's so important so you don't forget for long periods of time. Because when we delay, which is of the ego, the delay is in time. He tells us delay is in time. In chapter 5, he talks about that, time and eternity, and he tells us that the delay in time can be tragic, and we don't want that. You know, we want light and joy and peace. And that comes from practice. That comes from remembering. And when we forget, we forgive ourselves and we try again. We don't get punished. It's just a mistake that needs to be corrected. Paragraph 13. You are one self in perfect harmony with all there is and all that there will be. You are one self, the Holy Son of God, united with your brothers in that self, united with your Father in His will. Feel this one self in you and let it shine away all your illusions and your doubts. Let it shine away all your illusions and your doubts. This is yourself, the Son of God Himself, sinless as its creator, with His strength within you and His love forever yours. You are one self, and it is given you to feel this self within you and to cast all your illusions out of the one mind that is this self, the holy truth in you. You are one. And it is given you to feel this self within you and to cast all your illusions out of the one mind that is this self, the holy truth in you. Do not forget today. Paragraph 14. Do not forget today. We need your help, your little part in bringing happiness to all the world. And heaven looks to you in confidence that you will try today. Share then its surety, for it is yours. Be vigilant. Do not forget today. Throughout the day, do not forget your goal. Repeat today's idea as frequently as possible and understand each time you do so, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of the truth within his mind, the gentle rustling of the wings of peace. Before I go to the last paragraph, I just want to share that my mom lately has been self-talking out loud because she's struggling. You know, she's getting there, but she's struggling, and it's not easy sometimes. And she just will say things like, "Oh, it's so hard. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, this is so hard." Like really, really down and negative. And I said, "Mom," I said, "but you're doing so good." I said, "Let's look at your progress. Let's compare yourself to yourself of how you were 2 weeks ago. You say, I am doing well. I am doing better. I am progressing. I am getting better. I am doing well. I am progressing." You know, and then put a smile on her face, you know, and like a little giggle, you know. And so it matters what we tell ourselves. It matters. You know, it's like the blue lenses that Zuma talks about. Like, you know, yeah, I'm going to see blue. If I'm going to wear blue lenses, they're going to be blue. Everything's going to be blue. I'm going to believe that. And he's telling us here, and he's telling us in a loving, kind way, that repeat today's idea as frequently as possible and understand each time you do so, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of the truth within his mind, the gentle rustling of the wings of peace. Because when we tell ourselves that basically we're unworthy and basically that God is not real, you know, because if God was real, there would be no pain. I'm not saying that backwards. If God is real, there is no pain. If pain is real, there is no God. Yes, that's basically what, you know, this whole course is telling us. And so by recognizing that, we need to really sometimes self-talk ourselves with positive affirmations if we need to. So that little bit of changing her mind really did help her. Because, you know, she didn't even notice she was doing it because she was doing it so often. I got, like, tired of hearing it. I was like, that's not helping me either, you know? And so, yeah, it's really catching, you know, that's like catching the ego in others, I guess, maybe. I don't know, but I noticed it, and it was just a change of mind as everything else in this course. And Lynn says, I tell myself who I think I am. Yes. I tell myself who I think I am. And it's one or the other. We are either the sun, the self, the one self united with our Creator, and He tells us here, you know, that we are. We are. He tells us in 3 lessons in a row. I mean, every lesson, I could probably go further, but I'm just going to go with the 3 lessons in a row. Lesson 94, I am as God created me. Lesson 95, I am one self united with my Creator. Lesson 96, salvation comes from my one self. Lynn says, Sophia Loren, don't make old people noises, the secret to her youthful appearance. That's good. That's really good. Absolutely. I love that. Yes, 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 and yes. That's great. It does matter. It does matter what we say to others, what we say to ourselves. I mean, words are but symbols, but they do matter while we're here in time. It does matter. Words can be hurtful and words can be helpful. And we're here to be truly helpful. Paragraph 15. Your own acknowledgement, you are one self, united with your Father, is a call to all the world to be at one with you. To everyone you meet today, be sure to give the promise of today's idea and tell him this. You are one self with me, united with our Creator. In this self, I honor you because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as one. You are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as. Amen. And I am so grateful. I love you guys. And I just want to say thank you to everyone, because this helps me as I hope it helps you, because when I am healed, I am not healed alone. I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. See you next week.